HSBC.
Yes, and we are live. Hello, my name is Hetal Doshi. I am an organizational psychologist and I'm the CEO of OPsych. As part of a community development effort, we are interviewing experts and everyday heroes just like you and I. And the whole purpose of it is to support the mental well-being and also raising our standards with regards to mental states and being able to thrive in this very unique circumstance. Together with me today, we're super honored and super grateful to have Gopi Ganesalingam, who most of you should know if you're Malaysian. If you do not know, I think it's about time you started understanding what Gopi has been trying to do for Malaysia. Gopi is a finance professional, which is always very useful, and also an entrepreneur who has served in executive and board positions in the Asia-Pac region for the past 3 years. Gopi is now the VP of Global Growth Acceleration at MDEC, which I'm sure most of you are quite familiar with, which is the government agency tasked with Malaysia's digital economy, which is probably at the frontier with regards to the economy that we're trying to build. He is also at the forefront and quite a superhero and very much well-loved leader who is championing talented entrepreneurs by empowering them to actualize their business vision. And obviously, that is something that is enabled by technology as well. Gopi, thank you so much for being with us. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, thank you so much. What a kind, generous introduction. Thank you very much. I didn't think you were introducing me. Anyway, thank you, and I'm more than happy to be on the show. It's a topic that's very close to my heart, and so everything goes back to the head and the emotional being. So we can work as hard as we want, but it goes back to our thoughts, our thinking, our emotional state of mind. So yeah, it's a topic that's close to my heart. Yeah. No pun intended.
well, it was taken as such. So, Gopi, what aspiration have you been driving MDEC towards?
Okay, so MDEC is the lead agency that's championing the digital economy. So everything that we do is about digital, about going digital, about digital talent, about innovation, about ecosystems, about investment. It's about digital transformation. And we can do that on the physical side, but are we also creating the cultural change that we need to do? Nothing happens, nothing moves if our mindset doesn't change. So that is why this is very key. We can build all this fancy platforms, but the mindset has to change. So what do we do in MDEC is to just drive the digital economy. It's digital. So that's what we do. And this latest COVID situation, unfortunately, fortunately, has brought about tailwind for the digital economy. It's brought about tailwind for how we go from offline to online, right? So it's the mindset change. Are we ready? So that's what we do essentially at MDEC.
So would you say that COVID-19 has been the ultimate chief technology officer for Malaysia?
I like that the way you put it. So we do a lot of things, right? So MDEC does builds ecosystem, it builds talent, it brings in foreign direct investment, and the part of MDEC that I'm involved in is building the businesses. So yes, COVID-19 has been a tailwind, I would say, tailwind for us because we always have been championing this cause, but it has given us a tailwind for adoption of the digital platform, the digital technology, the awareness. Right?
Yeah.
So 35 days staying at home and everything being done from your video, your food being delivered to you, everything being moving to online has been a proof of concept for us to say, let's move forward.
Definitely, a definite proof of concept. I think one of the things that I've kept hearing in organizations which we work very closely with is they've been contemplating on work from home for the longest time. And they've made a lot of judgments about it. But when, like you say, when COVID-19 came about and there was a non-negotiable push towards it, suddenly everybody could do it or was forced to do it. And so now, as you have said, a proof of concept exists. And so this is your ultimate cultural transformation that was required as well. You always say, what is the picture of success? What is the picture of success? Here it is, I guess. Here it is.
It is,
Yeah,
it is. And I just want to add that the technology has always been there. The technology isn't new. It's always been equipped to be working from home. It's always been equipped to be on a platform. It's always been equipped to be online.
yeah,
But it was the mindset that was holding us back. It was not letting go of what you already have, that physical stuff. So this has
yeah.
just accelerated the whole process.
Yeah. Gopi, I'm just going to make a segue and ask this question. I think you and most organizations have been trying to drive at digital transformation for long periods of time. And like you say, the major issue would be the mindset. And so psychologically, because I'm a psychologist, and that's the most fascinating part for me, I think a lot of ecosystems are very enabling, very empowering, very kind, very empathetic, very conversational. But COVID-19 was harsh, very harsh. It was like a smack in the face, whether you want to or you don't want to, you have to do it. Would you say digital transformation then should be, the way that we do it should be very enabling, very empowering, very kind, or should it be just get it done? So what kind of approach would help us transform quickly?
I think get it done. I'll just come back to MDEC, right? So MDEC is a government agency, and yet we had we acted very quickly. We had a BCP team, a business continuity plan team, always in place, regardless of what was going to happen. That means, should there be a crisis, we will quickly get into a crisis mode, and we will do things. So when COVID-19 was hitting the region, we were already enabling the BCP team to move forward.
Mhm.
So uh, uh, um, MCO, it took effect on March 18th, but March 17th, all of
Oh,
us in MDEC were already online on video calls, right? On
mm,
March 18th, the first day of MCO, we were already operating online via video. We were doing our town halls 2 weeks once on video. We were operating our initiatives for video. We were able to take, at least in my division, we will take 4 to 5 initiatives which were offline initiatives to online initiatives, and the rest of MDEC did as well. Um,
right.
so I think, yeah, I mean, if you have to, if you're pushed to a corner, and that's exactly how human minds work, is when you're pushed to a corner, we will
Yeah.
innovate quickly. We will move fast.
Okay.
We will use whatever is there to make sure it happens, right?
Yeah.
I can see friends of mine who have to go to the pub every evening, and including me, right? What have we done? We are now doing online drinking.
Yeah.
So we will innovate. We will find the ways and means to make
Yeah.
sure that we get what we want. But that's
Yeah.
human nature.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess this is the part that really fascinates me, because as organizations are trying to be very empowering, very kind, very empathetic, sometimes, unfortunately, it requires a harsh hand as well to get things done, and to get things done at the speed that you're requiring it to be done, and as a collective as well. But we'll
Yeah.
put that aside, because that's a lot to do with leadership styles. You've mentioned that you have gone through 3 transformation cycles. In your time on Earth, you have gone through 3 major transformation cycles. So, as you compare all of these transformations that you've been through in the past, and you think of the digital world today compared to the past cycles of transformation, how do you see the world today?
So I started my career 30 years ago, right? When I started my career, everything was non-digital. It was so we started. Laptops were just introduced to us, so we were all on laptops. 30 years ago, laptop, no mobile phones. So the culture was very different. Everything was on a fax machine. Emails were just coming in, and so it was a very different world. I was fortunate to have worked with very global brands like American
Mm,
Express and Lucent, and yet it was so different, right? When we left home in the evening, that was it. Work switched off. When we
yeah,
left home on a Friday evening, that was it. The weekend just started. Nobody disturbs you, nothing. And then 10 years later, I joined the telco industry. Things were slightly different. We were having mobile phones. And so you had to
mm,
reinvent yourself. So you had to give up a bit of your freedom, and work balance becomes very
mm,
vague. And then
mm,
10 years later, we are in the digital world, right?
mm,
Reinvent yourself. And that's when Google came in, and Facebook came in, social media came in, and everything became digital. Your professional life became digital, your personal life became digital, your social life became digital, and yet you had to reinvent yourself to stay relevant, to be able to communicate, to be relevant to people around you, to be relevant in terms of what you want, right?
mm.
So yeah, so 3 times I had to reinvent myself.
And how would you describe the world today? In you
In
know,
comparison to?
just as you experience a digital world, being in this digital world, how does that make you? How do you make sense of it, and how does that make you feel?
I
Knowing that the world is digital now.
I think I've I like the digital. I like the digital world. I'm able to get information anytime. I'm able to connect it anytime. I know where my friends are. I've connected with friends I've never seen for so many years. I actually like the digital world better.
Mm.
I do. And I think there is more freedom in terms of expressing yourself. Look at what we're doing today, Hitter. We are not asking Astro to broadcast this. We're not asking CNN to broadcast this. We are broadcasting it from
Mm.
wherever we are. We
Mm.
have chosen this method. And so this sort of freedom comes only when the world has gone digital. This sort of
Mm.
freedom, if abused, so digital world or technology is a sharp knife, can cut both ways. So it depends which
Mhm.
part of the knife you want to use, right?
Yes.
So this is the part that I like. You can communicate, you can sell your
Mm.
brand, you can brand yourself, you can
Mm.
speak to the whole world. The whole world can speak to you if you want it to. So yeah, I enjoy the digital world very much.
Right.
I speak my mind. I speak my mind, and I find my audience myself.
Yeah, there's a lot. I guess in summary, what you're trying to say is that it brings you speed, it brings you connectivity, it brings you accessibility. It's also given you opportunities that are unheard of in the past, and for you, it also gives you freedom of speech. And I really like what you say that it really depends on which knife, which side of the knife you want to cut this with.
Yeah.
But the truth is also that with the increasing rate of technology use, we're also having a rise in mental health related issues. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so it's both sides of the divide, right? If you're not careful, because the internet has got the social side of things. So we've got
Mhm.
three generations. I come from the baby boomers generation, right?
Mhm.
So a typical person like me would work for one or two companies at the very for a very long period of time. So we are very satisfied, and we grow our
Mhm.
careers. Then came the Gen X,
Mhm.
no, Gen Y. So the
Mhm.
Gen Ys are the ones who are probably running technology very well. The Gen Ys
Mhm.
are the ones running the Grab, running Facebook, running Google. So they're very smart, and they changed the way we were living. Then
Mhm.
we got the millennials, right? The millennials are the ones who are born digital. They,
Mhm.
from the day one, they only know digital. So as a baby in a millennial, you'll be holding an iPad. Your
Mhm.
school curriculum is on an iPad. Um, uh, I know babies who go to a TV screen and they try and do this, right? So because that's ingrained in them. You can see the shift, and we are fortunate to see these three shifts in one single lifetime while you're working. The shift of what technology has done to how the mind works. So
Mhm.
suddenly you are looking at millennials who are born digital, who are now socially on a digital platform, who are
Mhm.
exposed to so many things that are going on outside their control, and who
Mhm.
view the world in a very different lens.
Mhm.
Uh, by sitting in a room in darkness, they are seeing so many things out there, and so that's working on their mind. And so that is challenging to the mind. Are they asking questions like, why isn't my life so rosy? These guys are all going to Japan and having a holiday. They're eating
Mhm.
the finest food in an Italian restaurant. Maybe I'm not cut out to be good.
Mhm.
And so these things start playing on their mind.
Right, right. And do you think this, when I speak about the rise of digital technologies as a parallel to the rise of mental health related issues, do you think that it is specific to millennials, or do you think nobody is discriminated from this, just like COVID-19?
Nobody is discriminated. I think it cuts beyond beyond your gender, beyond your race, beyond your age.
Mm.
I think everyone is, and today everyone, in some form or a fashion, most people are touched on a digital platform in some
Right.
fashion. WhatsApp is a digital platform. You can make video calls.
Yeah. And so, with this, so would you say then the rise of digital technologies has contributed to the rise of mental health related issues?
I think so, and I think it's coming in from, yeah, I definitely think so, and I think I can validate this by saying that I'm giving a cheeky smile because I can validate this by saying that if you try and see a good psychologist or a good psychiatrist, there's a long waiting period for them. And if you look at the kind of people who are visiting them, are millennials who have got rich parents. And psychologists and psychiatrists are not cheap, but it's a long wait. And obviously there is a problem to address. And I'm not saying we shouldn't address it. We must address it. We must be able to identify it. But if you do not use social media effectively, you can get into this sort of mental health issue.
Yeah. And this may be a bit of a personal question, but I know that you have already upfront stated that you're very comfortable having very real conversations. Are you happy with your child growing up in such a world?
I have no choice, right? I have no choice but to embrace technology and pivot lifestyle. Accordingly, I have no choice. My kids are born digital, and they're not digital nomads like me. So they are born digital, they only know digital. So I realized I need to change and not them. Even when I started my own company, my own entrepreneurship, when I went and started Lava Protocol, it was a company that was going digital, was going to be selling digital platforms. And I had to hire very young people. And when I hired young people, I realized that I needed to change. These people are millennials. These people think differently. So I needed to change a lot there. Likewise, with my family members as well, my kids particularly, I know I have to change. And but I change, and but I guide them in this digital world. Just like when you take a young child to the mall, to Mid Valley or to KLCC, you will probably hold their hand and walk with them because they're young. They don't know where to go. Likewise, and that is how we need to guide children in the digital world. Guide them, make sure they have got very good value systems. They know what is right, what is wrong, and then slowly let them go in so that hopefully they know how to handle the information coming to them. They know how to handle these things that come to them through the social media.
Right. That's quite interesting because I remember when Steve Jobs had launched the entire I series, he was quite cognizant that his children would have limited use or consumption of it because he recognized the negative impacts of it as well. And so I just wanted to know, and I know that it is not MDEC's duty, but as MDEC begins to move forward and encourage digital economy, what do you think should be done from a nationwide perspective to ensure the psychological success so that there's not long queues outside a psychologist or psychiatrist clinic? What do you think the nation should do to have to ensure the psychological success of our ecosystem in this digital world? So maybe three things that you think we should do as a country or the government should do potentially.
So this is a personal opinion of mine, and it's close to my heart. One, I think we need to educate our young people in college and school. I think we shouldn't be shy. Digital world is here to stay. Social media is here to stay. Not just here to stay, here to stay and grow. I think social etiquette needs to be a topic in school. I think how we handle ourselves in social media needs to be a topic in school. I think certain topics are already outdated. Maybe it should be replaced with these sort of topics. More digital savvy topics should be inculcated in school curriculum. And so that's one I think needs to be done. I think it's important. Secondly, is our own value system as parents. We need to teach our children what's right and what's wrong. We need to be part of their growing up. We shouldn't be allowing, like for example, I have a 13-year-old son who likes gaming. So it's my duty to ensure that he gets to play his game, but he doesn't have to do it overnight. I know a lot of them are doing it overnight, but there is a time he cuts off. It's 10 p.m. And so we have to control it. So I think those sort of things need to be practiced, not just at home, but maybe even socially. So somebody has to come in and do that. So these things we cannot stop, and I think it's healthy. I think digital tech is healthy if you use it the right way. So
Right.
I think from school, from universities, as parents, I think we need to cultivate this sort of a thinking.
Right. This is where, I just get more and more interested because, we did a bit of an interview with Bhutan, and in Bhutan, they're very clear that they are focused on happiness as their, so they don't have a GDP, which I think you might be aware of. They have something called a GNH, which is a gross national happiness index. And so for them, at the frontier of everything that they're doing, needs to lead to happiness. And happiness needs to be injected into everything. But that doesn't mean that they are not digitally inclined. That doesn't mean that their economy isn't thriving. That doesn't mean that infrastructures are not in place. And so I think, that would be my request as well on behalf of everybody else.
That's interesting. You spoke about happiness, right? So happiness is a very important element, whether you're at home, whether you're in the office, or whether you're a citizen of a country. Because if you're happy, then everything is contented. There's less to manage you, right?
Yes.
If my kids are happy and they're happy at home, I have less to worry because they want to come back. They want to nest at home. If my employees are happy working with me, then I've got less to worry because they will not join the competitor, and they enjoy working with me. Productivity is an optimal level. If I'm a citizen and I'm happy, then less chance of there being a riot, there being a provocation of any nature. So happiness is so important, and I think companies have got chief happiness officers these days. I was in the Middle East in Dubai, and I think they have a ministry called Ministry of Happiness, and that ministry is to ensure their citizens are happy, their permanent residents are happy. So it is different, and so these are things that you pick up as you move and as you globalize yourself and the companies and your people and your children. And we need to be globalized. We need to think global and not just siloed. I think happiness is very important.
Yeah, and when you look at your clients, typically. Oh wow, that was
it's raining here.
So when you look at the way clients behave and the way clients deal with their transformation and guide their employees towards transformation, do you feel that in the pursuit of goals, they also ensure well-being, or do you see that a lot of people are just really focused on goals, and sometimes the stress gets to the better of them, and well-being is not really kept at the center with regards to digital transformation?
I think a good leader would know that if the person is happy, then the operation or the efficiency is very, very high. You're probably running a high performance culture because everyone's happy. Everyone's pulling their weight. Everybody wants to do things that's right. Everybody wants to do things that minimizes operational cost. Everybody wants to do things that optimizes revenue, for example. So I think it's a fine balance of both. A good leader will get it. It's a fine balance of both, using technology rightly and making sure everyone's happy. And,
I love that you say that a good leader would be able to do it. How many good leaders do you see that are able to balance?
That's a loaded question. I see a lot of good leaders. Let me put it this way. I wouldn't want to be working for a bad leader. So I've always worked for a good leader, and I see a lot of good leaders.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
And I work with very good leaders as well. In the industry, there are so many good leaders.
Fantastic. That's really good to hear. And I think maybe now what I would like to, we have like about 6 minutes left. So what I'd like to ask you is a bit more personal. So this is just Gopi, no more MDEC. Gopi, how has your life been? And have you ever gone through an experience where you have, gone through a very dark phase in your life, where you felt like you were in a black hole? It was very hard for you to deal in that circumstance.
Yeah, I think all of us have gone through that moment. If I recall, mine was when, so I had a very successful career at a very young age. And by the time I touched 40, I was very successful in a telco, a very large established telco. But I was not based in Malaysia. I was trying to come back to Malaysia. And one of the ways I could do this was, I don't know, there was a calling in me to go on my own. And I took that calling, and things worked out quite well for that calling. So I started a company called Lava Protocol, and in 2007 brought Salesforce.com into Malaysia, and started the first cloud business here in Malaysia. And it was not too bad for the first few months, and then it went all bad in the sense that MDEC was my third client, by the way. So I'm very grateful that MDEC was a far-sighted sort of a company. And that was very painful because for a few years, I was holding the baby, but there was no business because the industry just didn't get it. We were trying to preach the shift in technology from non-cloud to cloud, what we call on-demand at the time, just didn't get it. And in the process of that, many years I spent burning cash. And this is the cash that I saved up. This is the cash that I converted properties into cash to push it back into the business. And so I would come back every night. I used to work so hard. I could come back every night, very nervous, very disappointed that I'm using up all this cash, the savings that I've built up for my kids, and burning it all in this company. And I went through sleepless nights for many years, thinking, how can I get out of it? How do I turn things around? Yeah, those were the moments. But as you struggle and as you fight, and that's when you learn a lot. I learned a lot during this period. I learned who my friends were. I learned whom you can depend on. I learned suddenly I had also the other way around. I had people calling me up to say, "Hey, are you okay? Can I help you? Would you like money? I can do that." I was very touched. So there's this group of people I never expected that will come to me and help me out. Then there was learning exercise. I kind of remodeled my thinking. I actually at that time is when I realized that if you want to do something, get away negative thoughts, get away negative people, move away, be strong, and if you can do it, just go and get it done. And that mantra kind of brought me out of the dark hole. And then I realized I was attracting all the right people. I was getting the investors to come in. I was getting my clients, and things were going well. I was attracting the right talent to join me on this journey. And so I saw that happening. And today I'm a very positive person, and I try and pass that back to a lot of people who are going through this sort of a problem. And in industry, when I meet some of these guys who are going through the entrepreneurship journey, and then when I speak to them, I can immediately relate to them on what they're going through. Offer my experience as well.
Right. Well, thank you so much for sharing that story.
My dark secret over FBLive, never before.
Never before. Have you never shared this before publicly?
Not on live. I've shared it on some talks. I've shared it with my children because they went through it with me, and they were very supportive. My wife and my kids were very, very supportive, and they saw me through. And but I think not many know about this yet.
Yeah.
You caught me at the right time.
Well, are you okay if we share a little bit about our conversation before the interview, where we were talking about a dark space and we couldn't quite recall anything?
Sure. Yeah, please.
Yeah. So so for those who are watching, and I think it's really valuable to hear as Gopi is as we've caught Gopi in the right time and the right space, and also in light with the spirit of mental health and mental well-being and thriving in such an environment. I think Gopi has been extremely daring by being vulnerable. And an earlier conversation that we had, when I asked him, Gopi, what was the darkest hour that you had? And he said, my life has always been very good. My life has been really good. I don't remember a time where anything was bad. And I said, really? I mean, I'm sure there could be one thing. And he said, maybe my time as a student. And just before we got onto this interview, I think Gopi had maybe been thinking a little bit about what would have been his darkest hour. And I didn't expect you to have such an open sharing. I think this is exactly, sometimes education can be valuable. Sometimes parents can be, push to take the lead with looking after children. But I think a lot of other times it's stories like the ones that Gopi has just shared that normalizes our experiences and makes us feel like there is hope. There is absolutely hope as well. And I have a question, because to be able to share it with your family is one thing. To be able to share it with a small community that is closed is different. Sharing it on live publicly is a completely different thing altogether. What makes you feel comfortable to do this today?
Because I have nothing to hide. And so I speak from my heart. I've worked very professionally with everyone. I don't think there's anyone out there who thinks that I have been unprofessional in any way. So I've got nothing to hide and just share my experiences. Nothing.
Yeah.
And in fact, I've just told my children to watch me on FB and study this interview carefully, because I'm speaking from my heart, and it's a lot to do with them as well.
And what are their names?
So my eldest is Lavanya, second is Shivani, both girls. And the eldest one has just graduated. She's just beginning to work. Second one doing dentistry, and my third one is a boy. His name is Vishal. He's 13 years old.
Vishal?
Yes, yeah. Vishal.
Hello, Lavanya. Hi, Shivani, and hello, Vishal. I think this is a really unique moment in time where a father is sharing a story to his children in a very unique manner using technology. And I can only imagine. I mean, I can imagine my dad were here, and if he were talking about his personal experiences, I know our bond would increase significantly. And I think that's the thing with a lot of leaders or a lot of people who are highly functioning and highly aspirational. Sometimes it's nice to just share these stories as opposed to like, let's go rock this world. Because it just makes us believe in humanity all over again, and just makes us realize that we are all the same. So I really appreciate that significantly. And I just wanted to share with you that this is actually, research was done that if people are able to share stories like this, especially in a constructive way, not a destructive way, completely constructive way, in a time and format that they are comfortable, they're actually called daring greatly. They're able to dare greatly. So the vulnerability in circumstances like this is called being able to dare greatly. So thank you so much for being extremely daring.
Thank you so much, Ito, for asking me all the right questions. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
So I think it goes two ways. I think you were able to prompt me to get my thinking. I think you're able to prompt all the right questions. I think I have to say thank you to you.
Yeah, well, it's been a pleasure. I'm just so grateful that you're here. We're at 4:33. I just wanted to ask one last question before we go. As a leader, you would be looking after many people as a father to Lavanya, Shivani, and Vishal, as a husband, as a provider, as somebody who's looking after Malaysia's ecosystem. You're obviously always looking after other people. I would like to ask you, in the past few weeks, has anybody asked you, Gopi, how are you? And how are you really?
I do get a lot of WhatsApps, particularly genuinely friends, relatives, my mother, my wife, all asking me how am I. So I think I'm pretty lucky in terms of there's a lot of genuine relationships that I'm surrounded by, and so a lot of people do ask me how.
This is a cheeky question. Have your bosses called you and asked you, Gopi, how are you really?
So under the MCO, we have a leadership call every morning at 9 o'clock. And that leadership call is about checking how's everyone coping. It's a daily call.
Mm-hmm.
And then at 10 o'clock, I have a similar call with my group of, I have a team of 25. Mm-hmm. And that call is also a call to find out how's everybody doing, what's everything going on. And it's just not work, it's also your emotional being.
That's
Today,
awesome.
Was it yesterday? There was a team member from my team who couldn't make it for the call because he was looking after his dad. He said, no issue. So we kind of shared that news and how everybody came in to help him out. say, okay, don't worry about this, we'll do this. So it is about, I think it's a cultural thing in organizations or families, is to always have the pulse of the people, whether it's your family or your friends or your colleague, have the pulse.
That's
Feel
fantastic.
the pulse all the time.
That's fantastic. Then MDEC must be a very exceptional place. We did.
It really is. Trust me.
Yeah. We did a recent study with about 20 leaders. It's not much, but they are from the top companies in Malaysia. And when we asked the leaders all kinds of questions about COVID-19, and then we asked them the question, has anybody checked in on how you are? And we timed the response from the question to the answer for each of the questions. But that was the one question where the response time took much longer. They're like, I think, yeah, maybe they have. Are you asking me whether people are asking about how I am? So that question actually caught a lot of people off guard, and that was the one that took the slowest response time. And my understanding was that as leaders look after other people, I'm just wondering whether you are well looked after as well. Just like chefs, as we cook for other people, I'm wondering whether people cook for them as well.
That's a great way of looking at it.
Yeah.
So and what do you think about MDEC then? So are we a very happy, forward-looking organization?
I will need to do my own assessment, my own objective assessment. But I think if leaders are as open, as vulnerable as you, and I think also being in a tech space where ecosystem is at your core, then typically you're very community-centered, not committee or leader-centered, which is great, which is a great thing. Yeah. And in light with that, we have exceeded our time, but I would like to ask you if there is one advice that you could give everybody during this hard period of time, knowing also that Lavanya, Shivani, and Vishal are listening, so advice can go to them too. What advice would you like to give everyone?
Don't be afraid to make mistakes, because everybody makes mistakes. Be afraid not to try something new.
That's well said. That's well said. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you here.
Pleasure's been mine. Thank you very much, Hital.
Once again, I'm Hetal Doshi, and I'm with Gopi Ganesalingam, VP of Global Growth Acceleration, MDEC. And we were just talking about a very new space where we're trying to make an integration between a digital world and also well-being in a digital world. Thank you so much for your being so brave in sharing vulnerable stories. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.